Keyboard corporations these days are in an arms race to appeal to masses, both quality and price-wise. Today, we bring you a simple marvel to challenge the way we view polycarbonate keyboards. Loki65. Today, along with Loki, we were also handed pink switches as well as fogs, which we will be using at a later time. Loki65 comes in pretty standard packaging. The unit we have today was handed to us from Alex, so we already have his pre-made configuration. But inside the box, we have multiple types of case foam to use, as well as plate foam. We were also given a polycarbonate plate and an extra PCB to test with. In the meantime, we'll be using this PCB as our fresh start. Loki is a high-end premium 65% keyboard, featuring 3 types of mounting methods. These are top mount, gasket mounting, and burger mounting using silicone O-rings. PCB options for this board are hot swap and soldered, but unlike other high-end boards, both PCBs do not have a separate daughter board. The soldered PCB supports split backspace, split left shift, step caps, and an ISO enter. The Loki65 is composed of CNC'd and sandblasted polycarbonate case and includes a sandblasted brass weight. The case also comes in 2 color options, frosted and ink black, while also coming with a runes styled badge. You can also purchase different styled badges within the extra parts section of your vendor. As for plate materials, we have polycarbonate, FR4, anodized aluminum, and sandblasted brass. Noting that Loki comes with an FR4 plate, and all other plates are available as extras. Loki also includes a 37 LED underglow, fully customizable using VIA and QMK. Loki will set you back around $395 USD for its soldered configuration, and around $405 USD for hot swap. This pricing is a bit on the steeper side for a 65% layout keyboard, but shows for its user customizability and for its premium overall quality. Today, we will test 3 configurations. All 3 will be gasket mounted, but each will have a couple of different things between them. For this build, we will be using our Ubes switches with the Polycarb plate to test a more simpler build. This means no plate foam or case foam. Usually we will be giving an insight for the board's design, but today we are going to let the designers and creators of Loki give a more exclusive rundown on its design and meaning.
So let me just introduce myself first. I'm Hayden. In this project, what I do with Kelvin, I'm actually the main designer of the Loki65 keyboard.
Hi, I'm Kelvin. So what I do mainly is liaising with the vendors, finding the suppliers. Because of my background, I've done a couple of businesses, so that's where my experience lies.
This project has started around the late 2020 year, sometime in September, October. So that's when I first started drawing the initial designs for the Loki65. The experience we had with plastic boards that had thin cases, they kind of sounded pretty hollow. So we wanted a plastic board with a thick case. So that's why the Loki65 is pretty thick on some of the sides there.
The weight of the Loki isn't just an aesthetic decision, but at the same time, it helps in the sound. We want the board to be used stock. We didn't want it to, stuff with foam. That's mainly it. So it has its own character to it. How did we decide to do the Loki65 was basically we wanted a high quality polycarbonate board because at that point of time we really enjoyed the looks and I would say the sounds of it, but there was nothing in the market, and so we just wanted something that could scratch our own itch, I guess. Since there's no one that has done this style or design to achieve what we wanted, why not we just do it ourselves and see if the community is responsive and shares the same sentiments as us. I guess the community was very supportive of us, even though we had a lot of delays. So here we are.
I think the issue back then was there was a lack of higher end PC boards. A lot of PC boards that we actually were using were the cheaper ones, the more budget friendly ones like the NK65 back then. A lot of the IM boards, the injection molded boards were cheap feeling, and they weren't exactly the most durable cases at that point of time, right? So a lot of the plastics were just wearing and tearing off. So much so to the point that we were actually suspicious of the materials that they actually used.
I think even for now, more so in the past, was that misconception that polycarbonate boards are cheap in general. That's just a extremely false misconception, and I have no idea where people get this impression. But their thinking is that plastic equals to cheap.
Plastic is cheaper than metal, so that's
right. A couple of people saying that the Loki65 is just a cash grab because it's just a plastic board, when you can get so many other plastic boards for way cheaper, like $50, $100.
As the hobby grows, more and more people in the community are also aware that premium PC boards don't come cheap, because the manufacturing cost itself it takes a lot of time and it costs a lot as well. It's not easy to actually come up with a CNC PC board. So we have two sides. We overlooked a lot of costs that were involved back then. We just had this idea that we wanted something simple. We wanted something that was polycarbonate, CNC. We wanted it to be affordable and cheap. But premium PC and cheap doesn't really come along. It's pretty much mutually exclusive. But we didn't know that before we actually submitted our designs for prototyping, manufacturing, and it turns out that the costs were actually pretty high. Only when we actually started to manufacture, work with the fabricators here, then we realized, actually, even the cost itself, it's not something cheap that you're gonna get. And I think it's even more important for a polycarbonate board to be QC'd, the polycarbonate itself, that it's prone to more errors and more, flaws and stuff like that. It's not easy to cover up, when compared to an aluminium board.
Just because something is made of plastic doesn't mean that it would be cheap to make. Keyboard manufacturers typically have to go through a lot more processes in order for the final units to be complete when using higher quality plastics. And since as humans we've come to learn that plastic is equal to cheap, we usually don't take into account all the struggles with making the keyboard and the expenses that go into it. With our Loki configuration being on the higher pitched end, the Tofus switches added a more plasticky sound due to them being fully nylon, compared to Alex's configuration with Matchas that have a deeper and more dull sound from the pop stand. Using plate foam helped dampen some of that plasticky sound from the Tofus switches, but overall, full polycarb boards have a unique resonant and lively sound profile that's super fun to experiment with. Lastly, our Ubes switches don't really do well with our polycarbonate case, but for different purposes, we can see that not every switch will do its board justice. These had more of a rattly and cheap sound that is not because of the case, but from the switches themselves and from us not using plate foam with our last test. The aluminum plate gives it the classic sturdiness and rigidness of a premium keyboard, while the polycarbonate plate gives it a more deep flex many others prefer. Loki65 offers a great range of flexibility both literally and figuratively, due to the diverse plate material options and mounting styles available, allowing truly anyone to find their perfect sound and feel. Material quality is one thing Aiden and Calvin did not skip out on. Whether it's the brass plates or the polycarbonate housing, Loki65 brings a proud statement for quality over price. In most cases, people expect polycarb cases to be very cheap, brittle, and flimsy, but today we are looking at a marvel in this sort of field that we don't get to witness often. With the keyboard community continuously growing with a seemingly never-ending pace, we start to see more and more smaller creators and designers start to create beautiful and meaningful projects. Not everyone will like Loki for its misconceptualized polycarb case, but those who do will indeed love every aspect about it. Our community finds new ways to adapt and change the way we originally think about things that we always thought would be true. In our case today, we can see that polycarb doesn't always mean cheap or low quality, and one thing we should all get to know is to not judge a book by its cover, but to understand what type of book it is and the hard work that it took to make it. This is our Loki65. From top to bottom, from left to right, and all around it, Loki is an extremely beautiful board with a seemingly classy twist showing its high quality and premium aura.